Well, good evening, DirtFish Rally friends. It's the end of day one here at Rally Turkey, and welcome to what is a very, very fine kitchen table indeed. Still eating dinner. I'm joined this evening by our chief, what are you, David? Chief writer? Chief writer at DirtFish?
I'm quite tired, actually, Colin.
Because he keeps writing. He continues to write, this gentleman. David Evans is our chief
Senior staff writer.
Lisa gets that right every time, doesn't she?
It's not complicated, Colin. It's not.
No, it's complicated when I'm doing it, that's for sure. So, joined by David, and as we have been a few times this weekend, by our friend and sometimes colleague, George Donaldson. George, what a lovely meal we've had.
An absolute stunner, Colin. This is the best restaurant in Marmaris, and we're telling no one about it.
No, we're not. You might be able to guess just about where we are, if you know Marmaris. But what are we here to talk about? Well, we're here to talk about the first two stages this evening of Rally Turkey. And David, it's been really quite interesting. There was one major talking point this evening. Tell us about that.
I thought there was more than one.
There's one main talking point this evening, David. Tell us about that.
I thought there was more than one, mate.
One main talking point.
Okay, Sebastien Loeb.
No, dust.
No, well, for me, Sebastien Loeb, to come back and do what he did in the dust was pretty special.
You got around that one quite well. Let's go back to the dust, though, before you go. Quite right. Sebastien Loeb, what a performance from him out there this evening. But you have to say that, in particular, our two top Hyundai drivers, Thierry Neuville and Ott Tanak, were both very vocal about the situation that we saw out there this evening, because they've encountered it before and they flagged it up before the rally started.
Well, exactly. It was talked about. Everybody kind of saw this coming in stage two, and the frustration here is that every year we have to go through this process of seeing how the dust is, and it wasn't so bad in the first one. It wasn't the end of the world. Nobody came out of stage one bitterly complaining about the dust. Stage two, all of the teams, in fairness, M-Sport, I don't think M-Sport actually contacted the organisers, but they agreed with what Toyota and Hyundai were saying, in that they needed to increase the gap from 3 to 4 minutes. And it's a simple safety issue. That's all it is. You could argue that, I'm sure maybe George, there is a point here that if you can't see where you're going, you will slow down. I think, they could have taken it to 4 minutes for the second stage. That's the frustration. We've seen it year on year for the last 2 years here. It's the same deal. Just get it done.
Particularly early evenings and early mornings. But George, you have a very different view on the challenge of driving in dust. No surprise that you have a different view, but tell us what it is.
Well, first of all, I don't disagree with the driver's point of view about driver safety and about car safety and about everything else. But I find it quite incredible that a driver who is happy to drive around Monte Carlo in ice conditions is prepared to drive on ice conditions on slick tyres and then say that that's okay, but it's not okay to come here and drive in dust. I do agree about it's spiking the competition in a way, but in some ways, road cleaning at the front, Sebastien Ogier is running first on the road, cleaning the road, and it's costing him many seconds. So he probably took huge chances on the second stage there to maintain a lead, so that could be argued that was unsafe. And the drivers in the dust, well, they had to slow down a little bit to do it. But at the same token, Sebastien Loeb, who must have had the worst dust from just about everybody in that leading group of drivers, he said, I realised it was going to be like this. I prepared my notes for it, and bang, he's leading the rally. Thank you very much. So I don't disagree with the drivers, and I'm not dissing them for their attitude, but this is rally. This is not a sanitised environment. We get driving snow in Sweden, we don't stop the rally. There's mud in Rally GB. It's horribly slippery. You can never see where the slippery places are. We don't cancel the stages for that. Fog in New Zealand, wherever, Monte Carlo as well, fog. We don't cancel stages. Sorry. And I agree to some extent, but not completely.
Well, I tell you what, Thierry Neuville was the most outspoken at the end of the day about the issues with dust. Let's hear from Thierry Neuville.
Yeah, obviously, it's always the same. I mean, you never have the same conditions and equal conditions for anybody. We know there's this issue of road cleaning, but that has been part of the championship since long. Now we're talking about safety as well for the drivers, and we are making extremely expensive cars to improve the safety for the drivers as well. But we agree to send the drivers at a very high speed in the stages where we know there's a problem with dust. I mean, we only need to look back last year and the years before, and I probably lost a part of my championship last year here as well, so with the same issue. So I don't get it, to be honest. And in French we say there are only stupid people who don't change their mind, and obviously there are some people who don't want to change their mind.
Well, Thierry, using a few choice words there, and really we can all understand his frustration. But at the end of the day, David, he didn't actually have a bad evening. He's in second place, but we can understand his frustrations. But let's talk, before we talk about the person who leads the rally, let's talk about Sebastien Ogier. He did a remarkably good job out there. Stage 2, he said, was like a power stage. He threw everything at it. Ogier was probably the happiest man at the end of the day.
He had to throw everything at it, didn't he? You know, first on the road, and he knew at the end of tonight his fate was sort of set for the rest of the weekend, because if you're first on the road on Saturday, inevitably you're going to be really struggling not to be first on the road on Sunday. So he knew from the outset, he pinpointed those 2 stages, and he went like hell. And you know, his time through, we talked about, you know, what are the big talking points. Ogier's time through stage 2, from first on the road where it was cleaning. We know it was cleaning. We've been through there. It was tremendously impressive. It really was.
He did a great job, Sebastien Ogier. We caught up with Sebastien Ogier. Let's hear what Seb had to say.
Honestly, I was pushing very hard. First stage I also tried, but after 3 corners I already had a moment and I went wide. And well, then I kept going, and I think I had a quite good stage, but we seen on the second part, which was very slow and twisty, that I lost a lot of time because of cleaning. And then the gap were very, very close. I was P4, I think, after first stage, but it was like a lot of drivers in few tenths, and I knew I had to push very hard second stage again to hopefully have a chance to have many cars in front of me tomorrow. And at the end of the day, yeah, it's even better than expected. Definitely I couldn't do more in the second stage. In the same time, the dust was a bit of an issue for the other guys. Looks like not everybody, but some of them suffered a lot from it. So I cannot be happy with that, because honestly, that's something which make it more unsafe, and I don't like when we have to run in this condition. It's a bit of shame that every rally we need to, even if we mention it and we know it, we had an example from the last years. We know that when you run early in the morning or late in the evening, the dust is hanging. So it's a bit of shame that you always need to be in the situation once before it changes. Or I mean, I don't even know if it's going to change now, but yeah.
So, we've gone a little bit the wrong way around here, haven't we? We started with our second place man, who is Neuville. We then went to our third place man, who is Ogier. But George, Le Maestro, Sebastien Loeb, we kind of flagged it up in our pre-event kitchen table. You know, that Loeb is capable of doing anything, anywhere. We had a lackluster performance from him in Monte Carlo, but my goodness me, this evening was Loeb at his very best, using every ounce of his knowledge, his experience, his ability.
Well, absolutely. And just to backtrack to the other Seb very briefly, Seb has very often disproven the road cleaning theory, but goodness knows what depths of his soul he goes to drag that performance out. It is really, really remarkable. And Seb Ogier has to be the driver of the evening here today.
Reasonable. I think it's very close between the two Sebs. You say it's a French driver called Seb who was the driver of the day.
I think that's the best way to do it, because they're both remarkable. I am so delighted that Seb Loeb is leading a WRC rally overnight again. It's an absolute it's been a pleasure and a privilege to know him all these years and seeing him grow up. I remember him when he was driving the Formula 2 cars, as it was at the time, the kick.
100. Yeah.
Thank you, David. I didn't have much to do to him. He came to one of our PWRC tests once with that car. I remember them doing it. And people phoning me and telling me, this guy's remarkable, watch him.
David, it was a remarkable performance from Sebastien Loeb out there this evening. You know, you've written about it. We asked him about it this evening as well. You know, it could be his last event. He would love to go out on a high. He's put himself in the position now, really, to do just that. Can he maintain the kind of pace and performance we saw this evening through to tomorrow? Tomorrow's a difficult day.
Why not? You know, why not? The leaders, the people around him will be in the same sort of conditions. similar levels of dust. You know, the road will be just about as clean for Thierry as it will be for Loeb. But, you know, for me, what we saw tonight was just an absolute masterclass of just how to do it. And he would have found the dust. There's no doubt. You know, we're sitting here thinking, and, you know, you asked him, was the dust there? Of course the dust was there, but he knew. You know, George, you'd have known this, that as a driver, you would go into that dust and immediately you panic. You lift fractionally and your attention is taken by the dust. So you're therefore not looking at, maybe not quite so much at the line. All of the guys, you know, all of the people at the front end of this rally are superb at that. But Sebastien Loeb is that bit better because he's got that bit of experience from all of those years of driving in the dust. And I think that's the thing, that, you know, he could just reach in and he could just relax and just drive. And the point is, you know, that this, if it is his last event, regardless, he perhaps has the least to prove here. You know, he's got no championship, no stress, just drive. And it was great, you know, when we saw him come to the end of the stage, and Danos there saw that they were quickest, and the smile, and, you know, you saw it took us all back 20 years, didn't it?
Absolutely did. Listen, it was a magnificent day from Sebastien Loeb. Really a great start, I'd have to say, to Rally Turkey. Our top 8 drivers separated by just over 6 seconds. We'll finish this podcast by hearing from the man himself. Sebastien Loeb leads at the end of day 1. Don't forget, DirtFish.com. David wants to make a point, but I'm going to wrap this up. David, make
It's a kitchen table, not a podcast.
Oh, yeah, it's a kitchen table. Oh, yes. It's been a long day, everyone. It really has. We'll finish this kitchen table by hearing from the man himself. Sebastien Loeb, our rally leader.
For sure, it's great to be at this position now. I didn't really know what to expect. I had some experience from some other rallies where I was pushing hard, but at the end the time was not good. And here, since I tested the car, the feeling with the car was good, the notes were good, and I tried to push hard in the first stage immediately because I knew that these 2 stages tonight are crucial for the road position for the rest of the rally. So I did my best, and finally the rhythm was there, the times also. So I started the second stage with the same motivation, and leading at the end, it's just incredible.
Seb, you've spent a lot of time at home since the last rally. You're at a disadvantage because you've never done this one before. Just how much time did you spend studying onboards from here from previous years?
A lot of time. And I tried also to work on pace notes before to arrive here, to have a base of pace notes to start the recce. It's the first time I'm doing that because I know that 2 passes when you take the note, the first pass and the second one, you just correct it a little bit. You cannot be 100% confident. So I try to work a bit before, and at the end it seems that it pays.